Hey Optifold clients, this is my video reply to summarize what we did so far. So in mid-March, you contacted us regarding your uneven eyelids that started developing about many years ago from the excess crying that occurred during that time. And that actually about 3 years ago, you got this sty that on your left eye that made things even worse, and the left eye is the uneven eyelid. And by worse it means there were clear signs of multiple creases forming, and there are also clear signs of excess skin presence. So you were worried whether you're concerned and curious to see whether your case can be treated with Optifold. So you contacted us requesting a consultation with us. So I replied back, and we do offer a consultation service even before you make any purchase to see whether your case can be used with Optifold. And we do this consultation service on the KakaoTalk platform because it's an instant messaging platform, so we're going to be communicating in real time, and it's a lot easier to transfer pictures and videos of your eyelids so that we can be really familiar with the kind of case that we're dealing with. And actually, you replied back after a while mentioning that you began following the instructions that I put on our YouTube channel on how to make your own Optifold tapes. So you began doing that, and by the 4th day, the crease was already showing signs of progression, which it was able to last all day by the 4th day. So that's very good. So regarding your progress, so you've already used the tapes for about, your homemade tapes for about a month, and you were easily getting all day results. But the thing was that when you took a shower, the crease would fail immediately by the time you finished your shower. And that's because the skin will absorb lots of water, and as the skin absorbs the water, it will make it more puffy. And so you're developing crease. While the crease is still developing, having puffy skin will tremendously affect the crease's performance. After the crease develops some more, the puffy skin won't be able to affect it that much, but while the crease is still developing, the puffy skin will affect it. And that's why when you took a shower, as your skin absorbed all the water, immediately the crease would fail. But you also mentioned that you're able to pop the crease back into place after failing. So that's a very high quality observation that points that your eyelid profile and the type of skin you have is actually perfect to be used with Optifold. And this is actually a general case for East Asian uneven eyelids. If you have East Asian eyelids and the unevenness is not caused by a muscle deficiency or a nerve problem, and it's just the inefficient movement of the skin, which is characterized by excess skin being present or multiple creases being present, then your case is perfect to be used with Optifold. And you're going to get the kind of results that I'm going to mention in this video. So later on in the process, you sent a few videos, detailed videos of how your uneven eyelids are. And then I asked for the history of your uneven eyelids, because this is actually very important. That way I will be able to categorize your case among all the other cases that I've already dealt with. And your case is somewhat typical, so that's good because it's the general case that we're actually very experienced at working with. So you mentioned that about age 13 or so, usually, so before you're 13, usually if you were to cry, yes, the skin will be puffy, and the puffiness will interfere with the ideal crease, so it'll make it uneven. But then eventually after a few hours, the puffiness will go away, and so would the uneven eyelids, and then your eyelids will be back to being symmetric. But then somehow at age 13, after that one crying session, the crease didn't go back to normal, and then ever since 13 up until now that you're 27, so pretty much like half your life you've been living with uneven eyelids. And I want to mention some details about why age 13 is a significant number, because at age 13 is about the time when you're going through puberty. While going through the process of puberty, the body is going to go through a lot of hormonal changes. This is going to affect the water retention in the fatty tissues, which is actually, there is a significant amount of fatty tissue in near the eyelids, so the orbital fat, the eye sockets, the subcutaneous fat underneath the skin, and East Asian people have more subcutaneous fats compared to people who have occidental eyelids. So during that period where you're going through puberty plus the crying, those two stressors would really compromise the normal performance of your ideal eyelid crease, and that's what happened. So we scheduled a voice call where I really got to know about your eyelids history, and that gave me a lot of confidence because I dealt with many cases like this before. So on the first night when you wore the Optifold tapes, you mentioned that actually it was a lot more comfortable compared to your homemade version of the Optifold tapes, and that's perfect. I'm glad. The comfort is actually a lot better, and actually by the time you used the real Optifold tapes, either your crease was ready to be mature enough to survive showering, or the actual sizing and the cuts of the real Optifold tapes were perfect to match your eyelid profile, such that the performance of the crease was able to withstand showering. So that's a really good sign that things are progressing. You mentioned that when you took off the tape, the eyelid felt a bit cool and tingly. That is probably the sensation that happens when you remove the tapes. I'm not sure of how you made your homemade tapes. The glue could be different on the tapes, but definitely if it's a new sensation that you're gonna feel, it will sort of be perceived as a tingly or cool feeling. But as you know, as you got used to using the actual Optifold tapes, that became a non-issue. So you mentioned how the performance of the crease was great, and I wanted to see how it actually looks like at the end of the day after the skin settled. And as you can see, the crease looked very natural, and you can tell that it didn't require any of the residual glue in order for the crease to keep its shape. So those are good signs that your case will progress at the normal rate, which is actually fast. So after a while, I asked you how the crease were, and you mentioned that it seems more permanent, and that if you actually lay down for a while, the multiple creases will come back, but you can easily pop in, nudge the skin and pop the multiple and pop in the ideal crease back into place quite readily. So I was wondering how you did it, because there are several methods that are common depending on your eyelid profile. You can either trace it with the eyelid tool that's given with each Optifold pack, or you can use the eyelid tool to sort of nudge the skin inwards. And your method of actually doing it is kind of like a pinching motion, and because it doesn't actually interfere with the way your eyelids behave, and as you can tell in this video that it actually works. So after reviewing how you did it, I thought, no, the way you're doing is perfectly fine. You don't have to necessarily use the eyelid tool. If you can pop your ideal crease into place using this type of method, then it's good. There's nothing wrong with that. So you mentioned that you'd only need to do this about 2 to 3 times a week, and that you actually didn't have to do it in the mornings. So this shows that for those 2 or 3 times in the week that you had to do it, perhaps you were extra tired during those days. Because it is common that near the end of the day, when a person gets more tired, and therefore the body is going to produce more adrenaline to keep you alert, because you can't go to sleep to rest, so you're going to develop more adrenaline to try to keep you awake. But adrenaline does affect the water retention within the body, and so in your case, when the water retention changes, it actually compromises the crease, so that you would have to do that kind of pinching motion to try to pop that crease back into place. But as the crease progresses some more, you won't need to be worried about stuff like this. So the last message I asked you about, like, do you feel more confident? And you actually mentioned that you feel much more confident, such that you're actually gonna wear contact lenses, because before you're trying to avoid wearing contact lenses. And I can understand, because wearing glasses sort of adds more like detail to the way your eyes would look, because the glasses frames would actually form like a visual pattern. So when someone looks at your eyes, they're not just looking at your eyes, but they're actually going to be looking at your glasses too. But when you wear contact lenses, the frames of glasses will be removed, so people will not be sort of distracted by that, and then they would be able to really focus on your eyelids. And if your eyelids were uneven, it's going to really make you feel self-conscious, and that's not a good feeling to experience. But now that your crease is actually progressing, and it can last all day, and actually it can now survive a shower, and only 2 or 3 times a week, where I thought that maybe you were extra tired because of inadequate sleep on the night before, but only 2 or 3 times a week, you just need to do that kind of pinching motion to get the crease back into place. So that shows your crease is really, the ideal crease is really becoming resilient, and that you're becoming more confident that you can actually wear contact lenses, so people can see how beautiful your double eyelids are. So this is pretty much a visual to summarize what you've experienced so far. So you had your original uneven eyelid, and it's characterized by excess skin and multiple creases forming. When you submitted the video of you applying the F-tape, it looked great. There's nothing wrong with that. And then you submitted a video of the end tape, and also that looked great. When you removed the tapes, this is how it looked. And then your first blink as the tapes were removed. And then at night, when the skin settled, and when you sent a video of you blinking, the skin actually moved very smoothly. It looked very natural. And because these are results from just about 2 months of using the tapes, and we've already seen the crease progressing to become more resilient. I think in total 5 months, so you have about like maybe 3 more months of wearing the Optifold tapes each night. So in about 3 months, so total 5 months, your crease is gonna be pretty much near permanent or permanent, which means that it's gonna last. It will first last about like a week, and then it's gonna last about like a week and a half, and then you wear tapes again for about 1 to 3 days in a row. And then after that, when you give it a shot again of weaning off of the tapes, it's gonna last like 2 weeks in a row, and then 3 weeks in a row, and that's pretty much the near permanent status. And eventually you're really not gonna be wearing the tapes at all, and you're gonna pretty much forget that you had uneven eyelids to begin with. So that concludes this video that summarized what we did so far. And yeah, keep in touch, and I'm gonna update your status as we carry along. So until then, I'll talk to you next time. Oh, if you're wondering about this eyelid, I've begun getting uneven eyelids this past month. For me, it was due to inadequate sleep. Usually I would put on Optifold and just fix it so that only the next time when I get bad sleep, that's when I can sense the eyelid crease is actually being compromised. But you know, this time I thought I'm gonna live with the uneven eyelids for a while, because I sort of want to have the feeling of having symmetric eyelids again. But the most important part is at the end of the month, or maybe 2, depending on how long I want to live with uneven eyelids, I'm actually gonna use the regular tapes and regular glue and give it a shot and see if I can restore my crease. And if those don't work, I'm gonna use Optifold, and I'm gonna document the whole process of how I'm gonna turn this eyelid and turn it back to my original double eyelid, even after having uneven eyelids for a month or 2. Okay, that's all I got. So until next time, I'll talk to you later. Bye.